Taking a look at the equity index futures today, I want to focus on the NASDAQ 100 futures as we move into the Fed announcement tomorrow. The NASDAQ 100 futures, the big gainer of the day when you look at the majors. NASDAQ futures up about 0.5% or 50 basis points. Over 7,900 once again, so we saw a nice rally in the NASDAQ to close today. I want to point out that when you look at some of the factors here within the different equity groups and the different indexes, we did see a rotation here once again today. Now we saw the rotation today apparently going back into growth and out of what would be perceived as value or maybe longer structured holdings as opposed to the growth holdings that we've seen rally significantly throughout the year. So previously, we've seen this rotation out of growth and into value the last couple of weeks, but now as we close in on this Fed announcement, growth took over value once again today. Looking at year over year, I want to just kind of set the expectations as we go into tomorrow's announcement. And you're looking at the NASDAQ up about 3.5% year over year. Now, if you look at the Dow and the S&P 500, they're similar. They're up about anywhere between 3.5 to 3.8% year over year. It's the Russell that's the real laggard here, and the Russell is actually down about 7.9% year over year. So we're seeing again, as I pointed out, that rotation now. The Russell was catching up here a little bit the last few weeks, but now we saw that dispersion widen once again today. And again, moving into the Fed announcement tomorrow, I want to point out a couple of very important things. The first thing I really want to point out is the expectation shift. We are now seeing a better than 51% chance that the Fed will not move tomorrow. That's a complete 180 from just a week ago. So if you look at the CME FedWatch tool, you're now pricing in about a 51% chance of no cut. And with that, I think that's why we saw the market movement today, as we saw some moderation in the bond market. Again, just adjusting of the expectations, but still those expectations are now that the Fed may not move. But we did see that change, as I mentioned, back towards those growth names now. If we see the Fed hold, you would expect those growth names to benefit from that, because if rates are not going to necessarily be ratcheted down, the small caps are perceived that's going to be detrimental to them. It's going to be somewhat detrimental to the value stocks, which benefit in a lower rate environment structure. So I think that's another reason why we saw the NASDAQ futures outperform the other majors today.